Thank you all very much. We so appreciate all of you who have been with us since this morning. I hope you got some much-needed rocket fuel in the form of coffee just now, but I'm personally excited for what I think will be one of the most interesting panels, although they've all been fantastic, on a topic that is extremely timely, U.S.-Iran policy beyond the JCPOA. Of course, on the cusp of a potential return of the JCPOA, this important conversation is even more so. But before this panel begins, this afternoon, we have the sincere pleasure of hosting a leading voice on foreign policy in the U.S. House of Representatives, someone who has served the United States in uniform and now serves the people of Florida in Congress. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Mike Waltz.
Thank you, and I'll try to keep this relatively brief so that we can get to the amazing panel of experts, true experts that we have here. And just to elaborate a bit more on kind of where I'm approaching all of this is, as you saw in the bio, I've been running around the world for 25 years, getting shot at from South Asia to the Middle East to Africa, but importantly, I also served in the Bush White House as Vice President Cheney's counterterrorism advisor, and have really seen this issue as it evolved there and as it evolved over the last 20 years. And now, obviously, I'm looking at it from the perspective of Congress. I'm now the ranking Republican on the Military Readiness Committee. We have responsibility for all military installations worldwide, in addition to all of our training, our logistics, our operations, and our maintenance. It's about half the defense budget. I have never seen a time of instability and of threats to this great nation and to our allies like we've seen unfolding over the last year. We now have we went from an unperfect situation by any means in Afghanistan to now having a terrorist superstate. And Al-Qaeda and ISIS fully intend to and are developing the capabilities right now as we speak to attack the homeland again. I call it the axis of terror, from Hamas to the Iranian regime to the Taliban Caliphate and to their backers over in Pakistan. We all see what is going to unfold, and I fully believe there will be an invasion. The largest land invasion from Russia to Ukraine since World War II, and we just saw both Putin and Xi, as they signed a new gas deal, standing side by side, trying to send the message to the world that there's a new world order in town, and it's not led by the United States of America. I think that's just, don't mean to make everyone want to drink alcohol after this, but but look, I think we need to face this stark reality. As it pertains to the talks in Vienna, I see two parallel paths and then one very unfortunate course of action. One is a return to the 2015 agreement. I think that's been the administration's direction from the outset. That is increasingly nearly impossible. Two is some type of interim arrangement, and I'm sure our panelists here can dive into the details of what the Russians are proposing or what that less for more type of agreement would look like. And then, of course, failing both of those things, the potential military options. We have seen in these negotiations that the lead negotiator, Robert Malley, is so eager, just like they were in 2014, 2015, so eager and frankly desperate to reach a deal that the Iranian regime can smell it. They see it coming. It's the same team around Biden as was around Obama, and they're underscored by two philosophies. America's more a part of the problem in the world than they are a solution. And number two, that if we can only concede our way to the table, that the other side will play nice. And we all know how that turns out. So he's refused to bring up to even press the Iranians on their past violations, much less on their current as outlined by the IAEA. So I just want to spend a few more minutes Again, I think we have a great panel of experts to really dive into the details there, but I want to tell you where I think Congress is. We started the Biden administration with 150, mainly led by the progressive left, 150 Democrats publicly sending a letter and going on record to the administration to just re-enter the Iran deal. You know, that was essentially the solution to all problems. I think everybody in this room knows the problem with that I won't lay out. In response, I was very proud to lead from my office a bipartisan letter with 70 Republicans and, importantly, and this was the message, 70 Democrats, that any future deal had to be wider and deeper and more enforceable. Not just a narrow provision of enrichment, that it had to include weaponization, it had to include the ballistic missile program, it had to include the support for terrorism, and importantly, and this is often forgotten, I think, in all of these conversations, the fact that there are American citizens, Iranian Americans, chained to the floor of Evin prison right now as we speak, which should have been a precondition for any talks before we entered anything. If you're holding an American hostage, then you do not get to sit down at the table with the United States of America. Here nor there. So, thank you. So that was I think, a strong message to the administration that 70 Democrats signed on to that. And we will be releasing another letter soon that lays out a few things. And this will be a Republican-led letter. One, that we will oppose any agreement that lifts U.S. sanctions on the Iranian regime, that we will view any agreement reached in Vienna that is not submitted to the U.S. Senate for ratification as a treaty, including any and all secret agreements. We saw that last time with the side agreements as non-binding, that we will work, that this Congress, particularly I pray, in 11 months, if Republicans have the majority, to reimpose and to strengthen any terrorism, missile, or human rights related sanctions, that we will not back down on the IRGC as a foreign terrorist organization, that we will push the UN for the snap-pack provisions in Resolution 2231 to go in place. And importantly, and I think this is an important point that I'd love to hear everybody's perspectives on. You know, it is notable that the Russians right now are serving as the intermediary between the regime and between this administration. At the same time that we're negotiating over Ukraine. So what's taking priority? What concessions are the Russians demanding for what? And how in the heck have we allowed ourselves to have the Russians driving the train as we have an Iranian regime racing towards a nuclear weapon at the same time they're on the verge of invading a democracy and threatening the unity of NATO, which is their ultimate goal. So I think that piece, from an investigative and from an oversight standpoint, will be incredibly important. And I can tell you what, we are going to get to the bottom of a lot of things in 1 year, whether it's the origins of COVID, whether it's what happened in Afghanistan, whether it's what the heck is going on right now and who's conceding what to the Russians, and what is actually being promised to this murderous and dictatorial regime who, frankly, we all know doesn't care about the future of the Iranian people. All they care about is their grip on power and their wallets. And we see that. I just wanted to come over here and let you know that many of us in Congress see that for what it is. We are going to spend the time and the effort and the capital to take on this fight. We cannot have an arms race in the Middle East. We cannot have this regime under a nuclear umbrella continuing its support for terrorism and its hostage diplomacy. And we 100% have your back when it comes to the U.S. Congress. All right, thank you so much, and I'll hand back over.